John McCain, Barack Obama. If we are going to be successful, you got to understand the rules of the road now. You got to understand the new rules in the 21st century for politics. And that means that image is first and foremost before you can ever get to your message. And that's what young people are looking at. Am I right, young people back there? Okay? That's what we have to do. We got to listen to them. We got to take that message to them. This is like a relay race. And one of the problems with the Republican Party is this, very simple. They are not developing a farm team. They are not looking around and developing the next group of young men and women who can win at the local levels, the state levels, go to the federal levels. We can no longer sit back and believe in leadership by entitlement. It has to be leadership that is earned by merit and by talent. And that is the nature of politics in the United States of America. And we got to understand this game. You got to understand what happened to you in 2008. Because if you don't, the window of opportunity of 2010 is very narrow. If you blow it, if Nancy Pelosi still has the gavel in her hand January 2011, see what I'm talking about? It's the liberal, progressive, legislative agenda will continue on. That's why I say, you got to read the book Rules for Radicals. You got to understand what they did to you. And you got to understand the power that you harness right here. The great thing about the Tea Party movement, it stretches across all ages, it stretches across all ethnic groups, it stretches across the United States of America. And that's the power that you have. And listen to the young people, okay? Because they want to be a part of this. If we shun them, guess who they're going to go to? We got to engage them. We got to get on the college campus. And it's very simple. Let me tell you what. You go to these young people and you tell them, there's a reason why the federal government now says that they will take over all college educations and loans. Because they're going to dictate to you what you can study. And they're going to raise the interest rates on those loans because they're going to use that to finance this stupid health care bill. 10 years later down the road, if you choose to go into a career path that the federal government dictates, your loan is absolved. Now, I got to tell you something. You go back and you read the Communist Manifesto by Marx and Engels, it talks about state-controlled education. It's happening right here in our country. Yes, sir.
You had mentioned your fear about the amnesty program, and I share those fears, but you seem to be quite a bit of a historian. You find a dilemma politically because of the way America has been formed through immigration and through the people's work ethic that come here that want to work and don't want giveaways, and at the same time know that politically if they manipulate a lot of the people that are here looking for the giveaways that they can get more votes. I myself am very torn between those two ideals.
Well, the thing is, I am all for legal immigration. It's illegal immigration, which is a national security issue, it's a health care issue, it's an education issue, it's an economic issue, it's a tax issue. It is a multifaceted issue. So one of the key things that we have to do is, the corporate business tax rate, second highest in the world, 33%. Cut it in half, flatten it out, 16, 17%. So then there is no excuse to want cheap labor or things. And you can hire Americans, you can get Americans out there working. I think you've got to secure and enforce your border. Right now, there's a war going on our borders. And the thing is this, I'm a very compassionate person, but constitutional rights and the benefits of Americans should go to Americans first and foremost, not to them. We tried this in 1986. About 3 to 4 million people. But the federal government didn't own up to what their responsibilities were supposed to be. Now we have a problem of epic proportions. And if these people grant amnesty, the United States of America is totally different from what it will be. And if you go back and you study history, and you study what happened to Rome, when Rome did not secure its northern border, when Rome started to give away citizenship of being a Roman to anyone, and they lowered the standards for that, Rome collapsed from within. Exactly right along the same lines that Cicero talked about back in 55 BC. Yes, ma'am.
One of the things we have to remember is that when our grandparents, my great-grandparents came here,
You're absolutely right. I mean, the thing is, what we have to stand for, and see, this is part of this problem that we have. The biggest enemy in the United States of America is ourselves. Who are we? What do we stand for? What is our culture? What is our language? I mean, I think it's absolutely appalling that when you go to get a voting ballot, I don't know about Palm Beach County because I live in Broward, but when you get a voting ballot in Broward County, it's in 3 different languages. It's in English, it's in Spanish, it's in Creole. Now, I kind of thought that if you're voting in the United States of America, you could read English and understand English.
Yeah!
And see, there'll be people that say, you know, you're xenophobic, you're thisophobic, you're thatophobic. You know, I don't. Phobia means fear of the unknown. I have no fear of the unknown. What I have is a belief in the traditional values and the culture and language of the United States of America. And I think right now there are 2 things that are affecting the United States of America, 2 very big cultural issues that affect the United States of America. It's called individual responsibility and accountability, because too many people want to be victims. And the second thing is, what and who are we as an American people? And if we can answer those 2 questions, if we can resolve those 2 things, America will be back on the road to another 233 years of prosperity. Lady in the green.
We have launched the healthcare vote, and we wrote, and we emailed, and we called, and we did everything we could do from the grassroots level to try and stop it. And it didn't happen. I mean, they went in, they voted it in, and now they're trying to sell it, and it's not working, obviously. But if they go, if this Congress and this President go and try and push immigration, we don't have the votes to stop it. They're not answering our phone calls. They're just ignoring our emails. They're ignoring everything else. I told my husband if they start to pass the immigration bill, we're getting in the car, we're going to Washington, we're going to clog up the streets. I mean, I don't know what else to do.
Well, I think the question is, you know, with Congress right now, they ran through the health care. What happens with the amnesty legislation? Remember, they tried this back in 2006, and you shut them down. You know, one of the key things you have to understand is this. Back in 2008, Congress had an approval rating down 21%, right? Remember that in 2008, coming off the TARP and everything? Everyone was upset, angry, mad. What was the re-election rate for incumbents in 2008?
90-something.
93%. It's kind of Pavlovian. If you reward bad behavior, you get more what? So until you get serious and you vote these people out, which I believe finally the American people are going to wake up and do this in the 2nd of November, they're not going to take you serious. But you got to continue to make your voices be heard. Let me tell you one thing that you need to do, and it is very simple. You know, good old Congressman Ron Klein, God bless his soul, but he's the biggest coward I've ever seen on this side of the Anytime a guy puts out an invite that tells the constituents to come to his Boca Raton office to sit down and talk to him about health care, then when the people come, he leaves. He flew to Washington, D.C. He's going to have a health care town hall on telephone. Let me tell you what you got to do. You got to make the fellow scared to come out of his house. That's the only way that you're going to win. That's the only way you're going to get these people attention. You got to put pressure on them and make them understand that you got to come back and live the laws that you're establishing. Don't let them be a ruling class elite. And you got to let them know that the clock's ticking. In 7 months, he should be former Congressman Ron Klein. I know, airborne, cool. You know, it's very simple.